Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
July 27, 2020, the HSBC Huawei edition. First up, from Andrew Hill's always great On Management column from the Financial Times, he talks about why layoffs are really the worst option for companies in a recession. The sheer cost of layoffs and time, money, and hassle mounts up. You often have to obviously pay out severance and immediately vest stock options and those immediate financial costs, but then you have to hire staff back to meet demand. So some companies are moving to short-term working hours, trying to move in different ways, but the cost is not really ever fully thought through by the cutters and slashers. And Andrew Hill points out that this is not a normal recession. And 80% of the actions companies take will really be misappropriated. And top managers really don't panic, think independently, keep investing for the long term, and communicate. While it may sound like and look like the layoffs are brutal, there are better ways to do this moving forward. Next up, in a very interesting article from the Wall Street Journal, HSBC has defended its cooperation with U.S. prosecutors and denies that it set a trap for Huawei. Obviously, HSBC has laid its bed down with the Chinese communists and their takeover of Hong Kong. And HSBC is trying to protect itself from Chinese retribution over that. It said that the U.S. Justice Department made formal requests for information, but it didn't set a trap. Obviously, this would portend a subpoena being delivered. The statement comes amid intensifying U.S.-China trade tensions over Hong Kong and Huawei. That's put HSBC in the crosshairs as an Asian-focused trade bank with a large U.S. operation. It's going to be interesting to see what hammer the U.S. government now tries to put down on HSBC for their continued relationship with the Chinese communists, particularly after their takeover of Hong Kong. Next up, from the New York Times, how remote work will create economic winners and losers. You can certainly think of Slack and Zoom and those companies who are going to be economic winners, but companies that are modular, I should say, and don't have tons and tons of people on projects, it allows you to be a distributed company. It creates specific opportunities for bonding with others in your workforce and generally makes for a more effective company and work environment, even in the age of coronavirus. So how your company is organized and its culture is going to go a long way. And finally, a sad tale from the Wall Street Journal about the fall of Ebony magazine. Ebony magazine was one of the great magazines, certainly for African Americans in the 60s and 70s, but it's been unprofitable for decades, and it ceased publication late last year. And now there's a bruising fight for control of it, which has put the future of what was once America's most widely distributed and influential Black-owned media in jeopardy. It's a sordid tale of greed, avarice, sexual discrimination, sexual harassment, all the usual players, but overlaid with the Black Lives Movement going on now. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Daily Compliance News, which is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio.